Welcome back to Just Kidding News, Out of the Closet. Today we're continuing with Ryan.
Finally out.
He talks about his first injury and your time with LMFAO.
Oh yeah. So I think LMFAO, that whole thing started because while we were on ABDC, we had on I think on week 7, they had been like, okay, here's the song you guys are using this week, and it was a song by LMFAO.
Not only incorporate all of these styles into your routine, but you will all be dancing to the same music, so you better find a way to stand out.
Which
did that song come out that year too?
Yeah, it was the I'm in Miami, bitch. We didn't know it or anything. I only mildly heard about them through like people that were into electro. We used that song on TV. I didn't know until later that that was one of the first times that their song was like used on a show. So they were watching it.
Talk about the Quest Crew. They done made history in my eyes. Yeah. I don't even know who's the winner yet, but I think they're gonna win for damn sure. This mother was sitting down cross-legged and did a flip. I ain't never seen that. It made me get up and say, woo, woo, woo. Had him up on the piano, does a flip, and the dude pushes them 2 people in the air. Landed. Jackie Channing.
They had seen us on there using it, so they had a familiarity with who we were. A few months later, after the show, we were doing a Quest Crew show at Wango Tango, which was like the Kiss FM like concert show.
I remember Wango Tango.
But we had like a bad position. We were like just supposed to perform at the small stage where people are walking into the venue, so they have something to look at.
The Kinja slot.
Well,
Why? I would have taken it.
It was still a good. It was still a decent gig. Like it was still a pretty decent gig, and it was like cool because it like that's where all the kids that knew us were at. So they would just go over there and watch us. And then we got approached by this guy named Mad Kwan at the concert, and this guy Mad Kwan is the dude that had done the version of Beggin' that was really big at the time. I don't know if you've ever heard that song.
What's Beggin'?
Begging you, put your loving hand down, baby.
You don't know that song? Sounds like it's about fucking.
Well, anyway,
when you hear it, you'll know. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, cool. Finally.
So this guy, he had gotten pretty big at the time for like coming out with that, but he was still kind of like a newer name, so they didn't give him a good slot either. He wasn't out there with us, but he was actually in the main stage. He was just opening really early. Really cool guy, and he goes, they gave me such an early slot, and I feel like my performance, I don't really got nothing going on. It's just me on stage. If you guys want, I can get you in the main stage if you want to do the show with me, and just make something to my song. Because he knew that his song was really big for b-boys, because the original Beggin' song was like big for b-boys. So
a fast-paced song, right?
Yeah. So like it was like that's like a breaking anthem, that song. So we're like, yeah, hell yeah, we'll do it. So within like 15 minutes, we're like making a whole sequence that we're gonna do for his show. We go back there and we do the show. There's like hardly anybody. It's so early that there's like hardly anyone in the stadium or anything. We get done and we go backstage and we run into LMFAO, who's like just hanging out back there. And we both have this like thing with each other, and we're like, yo, what the fuck? Like, it's you guys. And then they were like, we were watching your show when you used our song, and I'm like, let's do something together. That Hollywood moment where like someone mentions, let's get together.
We'll never do anything.
And we'll never do anything.
Let's grab lunch sometime.
Yeah. And so we had that talk, and then it didn't amount to anything. We never like heard back or nothing. And then randomly, like a few months later, I think like Hawk was at a movie theater in Burbank and ran into them again. And they were like, oh, dude, we never did anything. Let's do something. Okay, cool. Let me get your number. Blah, blah, blah. Again, nothing happened. And then, like, another time, Hawk was at, like, the W Hotel or something and ran into them on the top floor. And then this time, they were like, when are we going to do something?
You straight addresses.
At this point, you just think that they're just, like, fucking saying that shit. Yeah. But then we didn't realize that they do want to do something. They're just, like, in the middle of a flurry. So
everyone's always doing their own shit.
Yeah, so then he's like, Red Foo was like, oh, dude, like, I think I got something you guys can really do. And he's like, I got this, like, I have this song coming out that it's pretty big on dance. If you guys could think of a dance for it, that would be a pretty cool video. So he sends us the track, and it's Party Rock Anthem, which was a song originally meant for Flow Rider, but he denied it. Wow. So he didn't want to buy it, so they were like, all right, we'll just come out with it then.
They wrote it for him?
They wrote it for Flow Rider.
It's like a Flow Rider type song.
It's like a Flow Rider song, yeah. They sent it to us to like make something, and we're at Quest Learning Center listening to it. We're like, this is pretty tight. It's like it's a shuffle song and everything, so we had spent so much time making fun of shuffling that we ended up kind of good at it.
It's like that one scene in The Other Guys, Mark Wahlberg, he did ballet just to make fun of him.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's a good ass, what is it, a puree or whatever?
We did like it. Like, we like doing it. It's kind of like how I'm always making fun of locking, but like, it's that. But, so then we make that routine, we meet them up, we show it to them, and they love it. And then we ended up, choreographing that video for Party Rock Anthem. That ends up being released, and I remember me and Hawk were both like, did you see it? Like, oh man, they took out all this like stuff. We had made like twice the amount of material, and
You guys were in the music video, right?
Yeah, we had like...
I remember seeing you guys, and I remember my brains exploded.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Stream, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was a trip, because we actually had, like, I remember we prepared like maybe 3 times that amount. Only 2/3 of that was used on set, and then 1/3 of it made it to the cut. And we were both like, damn, people probably aren't gonna like it. And then like within a few days, it was like millions and millions. It just fucking blew up.
That's so good. Blew my brain.
And then I think like we figured out there was like a magical formula with us working with them. So they were like, all right, these are our shows that we have coming up. Can you come and perform at these shows?
You guys had, even look-wise, looked like such a good fit together.
Yeah, it really was like a really great match. And then we started doing every one of their shows that they had, like, and because of that video popularity, the bookings were endless, like nonstop. And it got to a point where we were doing so many shows with them, and we had done so many different tours. Like, we had done, there was a Kesha tour that we went on, where he had already signed on LMFAO as an opener to the Kesha tour. So even though LMFAO was like massively famous, they were still the opener of the Kesha show. So we went on that tour, and we didn't have a Quest Crew slot. We were just performing during all of their songs. And then we had told the group and the manager, we're like, hey, we really want to do Quest Crew somewhere in the show, like where it's just Quest Crew. They were like, okay, look, we're not the main guys yet, but the manager was like, I'll promise you guys that once we're the main thing and it's the LMFAO like world tour, Quest Crew will have their own slot, their own bus, their own everything. And we're like, okay, cool. We'll just keep doing shows until that happens. Maybe almost a year or less of like Europe tour, Asia tour, like all these different tours where we're just like kind of helping their show. They are like, okay, we got it. It's the LMFAO like Party Rock tour. They gave us our own bus. They gave us our own slot. They made sure Quest Crew was on the marquee on the outside of every venue.
Lit.
They gave us everything.
Wow,
that's so good. That's sick.
And not only that, they gave us a slot not opening for them, but so they would run through the show format was that they would run through all of the LMFAO songs, the intro. We choreographed the whole like show, beginning to end, but it would go like all of their other songs. Right before Party Rock Anthem would be Quest Crew. Wow. So we would be at the height of their concert. And then after us, it would go Party Rock Anthem, Sexy I Know It, the other hits.
Oh, those are like the closest.
Yeah. So they made us part of like the best portion of the show.
That's cool.
And then even when Fu was like, he didn't know what dancers get paid or whatever. And he's like, hey, what do dancers get paid? And I was like, well, we can go by this thing called Dancers Alliance, which is sort of like a union that determines rates. And he's like, okay, I'll pay that. Like, and that's a time where we were having to pull teeth to get Dancers Alliance rates. And he was just like down.
You're insured, and then they're putting you up for like hotel travel expenses.
Yeah.
That's like paying like union rates before like you even got to the union.
They paid that at a time where they could just say $500,
right?
And not have any penalty.
Did the bus have your name on it?
The bus didn't have her name on it. Damn. But it was like, it was a bus that was filled with nothing but Quest guys. But then I didn't get to be on that bus because like I worked a lot with Fu personally, so I was on Fu's bus.
The LMFAO bus.
But I wanted to be on that bus because that had all the video games. Everybody's playing Soul Calibur and shit. I was like, God damn it. Yeah, but so that obviously was life-changing in the fact that I think like when it comes to being a dancer and working with an artist, that's every dancer's dream. But what set this apart for me was that I got to see what it's like to be along for the ride with an artist that disrupted the economy of music. Because electro was not the main thing that was meant to be on the forefront. Like everything was hip hop right up until that exact line, and then it just flipped. And then every hip hop artist after that had electro music, and every all the styles changed. Like the fact that their branding was so unique and the experience was very like tailored. It was like animal print, fucking everything was crazy. The alcohol, like it's so like specifically party that it was never negative. Like doing these shows, people came knowing they were in a good mood, having a good time, letting go of whatever the fuck. It was very non-pretentious. Everybody, he was like the kind of artist that Fu and Sky were. They were very much like, hey, if fans come up and they want to talk to you, be nice to them. Like, don't be too cool. If they're like, they were always like, they were in it for the person-to-person experience and interaction. So it was a rule that you had to be accommodating, even if they didn't seem cool. Like you still had to like rope them in and go, hey, yeah, you want to come take a shot? Like that was your job, like to be nice to people, which is fucking weird. The cool thing is we'd run into so many different, we'd run into Lady Gaga's camp. We would mix with different camps because we would have so many shows with them. And it was very clear that like we got to have more fun than everybody. Cool. Even though it was like more, it's definitely on the short-lived side of things, but it's not as often that you get to be there when somebody's that defiant. And the rise of LMFAO was so fucking fast that you really get to see what it's like for somebody like that.
They give you guys a shitload of respect too, putting you guys on the marquee and stuff. You didn't have to do any of that.
They also did that for Far East Movement because Far East Movement also performed on the LMFAO tour, and Far East Movement was up there. Yeah, we were all together.
Did a video with them. Credit to me. Remember?
Yeah. The crazy thing that's like life changing about it isn't so much that like. I guess typically from the outside, you'd be like, damn, you got to like go on this fucking crazy ass roller coaster that'll probably never happen again. Even when I talk to Fu, we both look at each other, we're like, we got to relive the 60s because it was right before cancel culture. And we got to live in such a free world where everywhere we went, it was like, you didn't have to worry that you were offending someone. You didn't
positive, happy vibe.
Yeah, there was never like, there was no scandals that happened with LMFAO where they're like, oh, we did this inappropriate thing. Like their whole brand was inappropriate. Like it was meant for that. Yeah. But you can't do that anymore. And he's like,
were lit.
Yeah, and he's been to them, and he knows that. Like the crazy thing is we look back at it, we're like, dude, nobody's gonna get that anymore. As probably until the next generation, maybe. Like nobody's gonna be able
decades
to
later.
have that brand. Yeah. And the main thing that is life changing isn't so much the ride. It's the fact that I got to see how an artist really is. Because, you know, like, someone could dance for Taylor Swift for years and never know what she's really like. And never really spend time with them. But, like, for LMFAO, like, the fact that this dude, after I had gotten injured, this one show, I was doing the push backflip, which I don't normally do, but Steve wasn't with us, so I had to do it. I was the next person that had a really good backflip. So...
Oh, it's the one where everyone lines up, you backflip, you push, and it goes all the way across?
So I get pushed over, over two people, and then I land like this. The trick is that I didn't learn until afterwards that, like, you're not supposed to land laterally like this. You're supposed to kind of turn so that you land like that.
So your knees can do its job.
Yeah.
Versus sideways.
And I was landing like straight up sideways. Oh, shit. So every show, my knees would just take this hit. And then... By this particular show in Dallas, my ACL just tore on the landing and my meniscus just both came out. And then I didn't think it was anything at first. I just like took it and was like, whoa, that was a loud pop. And then I came back out again and I did my guitar solo. I'd finished the rest of the show. And then after that, I realized like that it was torn. That's my first injury I've ever really had. And what's life-changing is that I believed up until then that I was this special person that I don't get hurt, because like it's hard for me to get injured. It's really hard for me to like even have pain that's discomforting to me. Like I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah,
but
they used to call his dance style sacrificial style.
Yeah.
What about your 13-year-old circumcision? That shit kind of hurt, didn't it?
It was kind of hot too. No, so this was the first time that I had to grip, like I had to get a grip on like, oh fuck, like I'm not invincible. Like this is some serious shit. So the rest of the tour went on without me. I had to go back and get surgery, and I was just like, fuck, like is that it? Like am I done? Like in sports, you're kind of done when this type of thing happens.
You're at least out for a year.
Yeah, and then that's when like Red Foo was like, he would check on me and shit, and then he was like, hey, I think I need you more for your brain. Can you come and just be my creative consultant? He's like, you don't have to dance, you just help me do music.
Wow.
I was also his project manager for anything. Like he's a guy that just blurts out random ideas. All he needs is someone to execute. That's why I'm used to executing. Because he'll just be sitting there on the plane. He'll go, I want to come out with stickers. And it's like my job to go, stickers, cool, here. Blah, 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 blah. And like you have to like bring his random ideas to fruition because he has so many. So it's like a thing where you got to remember that he said certain things, and then you got to remember that he wants to do this, and all of his aspirations are so rapid fire. And then I got into like helping him with music, and that's how I ended up in the room with fucking Akon and Red One and Shakira, and just he would just take me to everything.
Wow, so cool.
Yeah, and
Akon's a fucking legend.
Yeah, dude. I just got to be very close to someone that I don't believe I would be able to get in the door for 99.9% of the places he brought me to. He really likes to give people a shot. If you look at our company when it was like Party Rock LLC, the company's made up of people that he picked from obscurity that were just like, hey, you're good at that. Why don't you do this? And it's like, we're all just people that are kind of random. You know, like it isn't really like, they're not headhunted from other companies. Yeah. They're just like people. Like one time these girls got in the wrong Uber and they ended up in the car with him, and the next thing you know, that's our social media manager. You know, like shit like that. Yeah, it was very wild. And I lived in his home for fucking years. For like 5 or 6 years I lived in his house. And then he moved out and I stayed there. And I lived in his house in the first floor of a 4-story Hollywood Hills home by myself. Just because he's like, can you just watch over it? Like, just that cool of a guy. And
wow.
And he gave me like several years to, he basically gave me years to find out what I wanted to do. After that injury, we did go back and do ABDC, and all that stuff happened. But it made me have to consider other things. And I always knew I wanted to do music, but I was always distracted by dance to do it full out. But me being injured and him giving me the space to not worry was like, who gets that in life? Like, who gets some guy that's like, oh yeah, you know, figure out what you want to do with your life. Just live in this fucking mansion. Like, and the fact that like we'd have parties every day, and it was like easy mode, like to the extreme. You know what I mean? Like, why am I getting this thing? And that's because he understood that people really like trusted his vision and were like, they put their lives on hold to do his life and to like really help him propel his ideas, and they didn't do their own ideas. And he's like, for him to let me have that was like huge for me. Like when you look at the captions for Instagram that I write or whatever the fuck, that's because I used to do so many for Party Rock. So for the Party Rock clothing, we had like fucking 100 items. I had this idea to make all the item descriptions fucking ridiculous to get more attention. And it worked. And people were like reading the whole website because they're like, who the fuck wrote this shit? And they're like, that doesn't tell me anything about the product. It's just a bunch of bullshit. And he would ask me to write his bio for things, and it would make the fucking Batman bio, even though it'd be about Batman.
That's funny.
It'd be about literally not him. And he'd be like, I love it. Like, it just didn't make sense.
He's an orphan. His parents.
It just helped me practice. It helped me practice doing the fucking stupidest shit. And like seeing if you could get away with it and like making that mark. And that's kind of where my, I guess, like literary training came from. Because like, yeah, I went to, you know, journalism school for a little bit, but the true, I guess, like education was putting it to the test. So he would be like, hey, write me a verse for this song, whatever. We did this one verse for a will.i.am track that didn't end up coming out because the song ended up being like very kid friendly, so we couldn't use that verse. But like, that's so fucking crazy to just be thrown into that situation. You get to do whatever you want and be
Potentially even get like songwriting credits.
Yeah. It's like you never know. Like anything could happen, or it could just fucking horribly bomb, like some of the things did. We did this one track, fucking. It's with 2 Chainz and Ice Cube, and it's called Drop, and it's like probably has like so many awards for being one of the worst songs that year.
Really?
Yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible. It was just like a throwaway idea that randomly he was sitting there and was like, hey, let's do that. And then we did it, and then it's like lambasted as like one of the worst. Like there's YouTube videos all about how bad it is. Yeah, that's, if anything, like that, rather than saying this is life-changing, this is more like life-providing. Where he's like, you want to live in this fucking alternate reality for a while and just like figure it out. Wow. Yeah, and I don't think like I don't know a lot of people that got that chance, so I always have to give credit to it.
That's awesome.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That was dope. And when we come back, more dope stuff from Ryan. So get ready for that.